usually that's okay. But because I was in a relationship that was more, how do you say it? It wasn't an authentic, healthy relationship. There was a lot of manipulation. There is a lot of manipulation. Because I was with someone who used manipulation to control, that willingness to partner and to feel safe and to let my guard down was exploited. So I've learned a lot from this. I don't believe that this was all my fault or mostly my fault at all, but I do think that I've learned so many key lessons here. The one being, go with your gut, your feelings. If something feels uneasy, listen to that. If someone seems too good to be true, pay attention to that. So that's what I've learned from that. And I've also learned that sometimes therapists don't really know about, I don't know if it's narcissism or manipulative behaviors. I'm not sure, but I was so disappointed in that first session because I was like, she's not seeing this. And I knew that I couldn't call it out because I didn't want to get on the bad foot with the therapist, and I wanted her to be able to see what was happening on her own. And just a small caveat, I joined a support group over a year ago for women that are in narcissistic, abusive relationships, who have been betrayed, just the gamut of intimate partner violence. And, one of the biggest takeaways I got from that was therapy was not good for when there's abuse present in relationships. And there is a lot of abuse present in this relationship. There is emotional, psychological, financial abuse. There is the smearing of my character to third parties, family members, friends, colleagues. There's a lot. And I really didn't want to do therapy. But he does, and he is the one that's pushing for this because it's his way to keep me in this relationship. And I'm not able to get out yet. So I'm using therapy to help document without saying that there is abuse, because I believe there is a fiduciary responsibility or some ethical requirement for the therapist to suspend therapy if they identify abuse. So I don't know what to do. I don't want to call him out. But I also, I want someone with experience to help us through it so that it's not as bad for me, because I'm not in a position to leave just yet. But I'm just hoping that she's keeping good notes and she's able to see what's happening without my having to spell it out for her. His words don't match his actions. And that, in my research, I've learned that is pretty typical of someone who is highly narcissistic. There's a lot of incongruence. It's a lot of future faking. The words sound sincere. The actions show something different. And that's what I've been experiencing since I've been back. And as I said earlier, I am very grateful to be in my own separate space, because even those times together that are at most 2 hours long are incredibly draining for me. I am tired. At the end of it, I am on edge when we meet. I am waiting for the other shoe to drop. I am uncertain of how he will be when he arrives, if he's going to be friendly, if he's going to be short and distant, if he's going to be dispassionate, angry. I mean, you just don't know. So, yeah. And in therapy, I just try my best to be reasonable and open-minded. I try not to shame him because that just winds up blowing up in my face if he's shamed for his poor behavior. I tell you, being in these relationships is really, really tough because you can't be authentic. You can't show true emotions. You have to be on guard the whole time. So if he's late for something, I can't be frustrated. I can't show him that it angers me, even though I'm very punctual and respectful of time. If he says something that triggers me or upsets me or that is meant to trigger me, I have to respond in a way that is not too obvious that I'm onto him and make it into a conversation or change the subject. It really is a lot of work. So working with the therapist is actually somewhat helpful just because it's a controlled and safe environment where a third party is seeing this, seeing the interaction, raising thought-provoking questions, having us think through issues or talk through problems in a controlled environment. And right now, I think that's probably the best way to deal with each other. But one of the biggest things I can say is it's important to just observe the therapist and how they interact with you and whether or not they're responsive to when you raise issues. And I really liked that rather than her getting defensive about the fact that she missed the fact that and I didn't say she missed it. I just pointed out that he didn't answer the question. So my response, you're saying that I was invalidating and I didn't listen to him, and you're pointing that out to me. But the fact that he did not respond to my concern and what you were asking is also quite invalidating, and it happens often. So I let her know, yes, I can see why you think this is invalidating. And yes, it is somewhat invalidating that I didn't respond to that to what he raised. But the reason why I didn't respond to what he raised was because that's not what we were talking about. And he just completely didn't respond to what we were talking about. And I think she realized then that there was a little bit of deflection and slight manipulation or inability to be accountable for his behavior in a meaningful way. And that was helpful because she did ask him, could you answer that question? And it was good. She didn't take that personally. And so far, nothing's perfect. And I think anyone will be challenged dealing with my husband. And so, she's learning. I'm sure she's learning how to approach him and how to observe. And so I'm going to give her some time to get on that page. But in the meantime, I'm doing my best to take care of myself, do a lot of self-care. I practice gratitude daily. I am very thankful for the ability to be back here in my own space, to not be moving around and sleeping on a twin bed anymore, to feel pride in where I live, to feel like I'm safe, to feel like I am comfortable. These are things that I'm very grateful for, and I try not to lose sight of that. And that is very helpful in keeping me grounded because, during this time of transition, so many things have happened in the world. You have the earthquake in Haiti. You have the pulling out of the U.S. troops out of Afghanistan and the demise of many of the civilians there, and the plight of women out there, and hurricanes and floods, and I just really try to stay grounded and to realize that what I'm going through is not the easiest, but it is not the worst, and I will get through this. And thank goodness I have shelter, good health, the resources, a job, sound mind, a nice support system that I can rely on. It's small, it's getting smaller, but it's something. And a therapist that I see. I want to just make sure that if you're doing any couples therapy that you have your own therapist, your own individual therapist. And I highly recommend having release the signs that your couples therapist can speak with your individual therapist, and also recommend that your partner who's in therapy also have that release sign so that the couples therapist can speak to their therapist. I think that's a very transparent way to do therapy, especially when you're dealing with a highly manipulative person who may realize that they can have siloed conversations and provide, and someone who's been living duplicitously for years, you better believe the therapists are also part of the manipulation as well. So yeah, that was my first experience with couples therapy since I've been back. This is now our fourth therapist. We had one before marriage. We had one right after marriage. We had a discernment therapist to help us figure out if we were going to divorce or continue with the marriage. And now we're with this new therapist. So we've done quite a bit of therapy. And, I'm starting to think this man loves therapy just for the fun of it and is not really interested in making any changes. But, that's my own suspicion, but that's why I have to keep moving forward and focusing on me and putting less into the relationship and putting more into me, giving myself more of my resources and time and thinking more about the things I need to do on my own for myself, as opposed to what I used to think about for us and our. He just doesn't have that. Us and our does not resonate with him. He's him and his, and I am ours, and those two, that dynamic doesn't work well. So I'll keep you posted. I'll definitely continue to share how things are going in therapy. In the meantime, I hope everyone is staying safe and doing well, and I really appreciate the opportunity to share what I'm going through. It's still a very isolating experience. I can't share with my inner circle too much, which is why I'm anonymous, and which is why I don't provide too many intimate details about my situation, because my goal is not to expose my abuser or myself, but to just shine some light on what is happening with in this situation. And I know I'm not the only one going through this. And so I just want to give you anyone who's going through something similar, who thinks they might be going through this, anyone who thinks they know someone who might be in a complicated situation like this, just stay strong, find a way to let it out, read, listen, dance, do whatever you need to do, meditate to get through this, because the more you focus inward, the better it'll be. The more you practice acceptance and stop trying to change reality, the better it'll be for you. And I'll cover that in a future episode. this concept of radical acceptance.